So we're gonna go from drama to a pretty emotionally charged one. This is a good episode. Talking about some pretty deep subjects here, but to lay the
Yeah.
groundwork, yesterday there were mass firings at Activision Blizzard. Um, some we don't know how many, but it was estimated somewhere in the ballpark of about 700 to 800 people across the North American job pool, if you will, of Blizzard. That's a lot of people, a lot of people. And then they actually I think it's I can't remember what it's officially called, but the Bobby Kotick like financial call. He
Yeah.
said that the same kind of treatment could be coming to the European campus as well, where they're going to be evaluating those jobs and kind of looking at what is superfluous and what is not needed right now. So probably more in the future. That's less. Don't like directly quote me on that, but that was, I believe, in there. And I thought I read that. So it's a very sombering day. It's very sad, and we want to take a kind of a subject to talk about what that means from our perspective, and what we know about this. And we want to talk about a few of the people that were let go that really impacted us as StarCraft people as well. But before I kind of take it over again, I want to go around and give you guys a chance to talk a little bit about it. Livy B, did you have any impact from this, or what are your thoughts?
Well, my friend actually who used to work at Blizzard was telling me that this was actually going to happen because the way that they lined everything up was they just didn't have any content to release in 2019. It's all in development. So from a business standpoint, it was going to happen that they were going
Mm-hmm.
to let go. Obviously, it was going to be 8%, which is actually huge. Um, as you said, that's like 800 people, but he expected it. And he doesn't work there anymore, but not from the firing. Thank
Yeah.
God he got a job somewhere else. And I was like, oh no, Blizzard won't let people go. And then when this came to fruition and the news was released, I was just I wasn't shocked because I was told it was going to happen, but I was just a little
Yeah.
saddened by it.
Dan, you want to take your thoughts?
Well, not sure how deep you want me to go right this second, but
Go deep, man.
okay.
I'm a bad host, so I didn't have any structural like
So
light notes. Just go
oh,
as
well,
deep as you want.
that's better host than I. Um, well, yeah, I mean, I see a lot of people using. First off, it's very upsetting to me. Like, I found out that a very good friend, multiple friends, but someone very close to me, got let go yesterday, right before my stream, and I've just kind of been in a very bad mood since
Mm-hmm.
then. I was off on my casting last night. I was off on my stream yesterday. I feel sad and gross and icky right now from this, and it's a and that's not to what I feel like doesn't matter here. Okay, it's
Yeah.
these poor people, but I do see a lot of um, there's like this almost a lot of the ways that I see a lot of people talking about it. I don't think are useful.
Right.
It's like, for instance, everyone keeps pointing out that like the new CFO got like $15 million or something, and they're like, yeah, all these people got fired and that guy got 15 million. I'm like, okay, yeah, no, it's very easy to get emotional about that and look at those two and be like, these are diametrically opposed. You could have taken that money and paid those people. And it's like, okay, I think that we're maybe not understanding the way that capitalism works and stuff, and that's why we have all these things anyways. That doesn't make it better, but I think a lot of these arguments are really, really weird and not really well thought out. But to talk about it for a minute, for the actual thing that occurred, because it's very upsetting. Like, some very, very good people. I don't know the full list of who was fired
No.
or who's still there. I have no idea. But on Reddit, people will have seen that uh, like Kibbles, Stu, the talent manager, Mark Albarts. I want to talk about Mark Albarts for a moment because the okay, so I mean, I've been here since the beginning. I've been a professional commentator longer than everyone but Tasteless. I've been through a lot of ups and downs and things. Mark Albarts being let go from Blizzard is the scariest thing that has happened.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
In
it
relation to
is
StarCraft 2, you mean?
in just for me personally, I look at this and it scares the shit out of me because I have kids and I live in Korea and my full income is casting StarCraft. And if they let Mark go, I don't know what's going to happen. People don't actually understand how integral Mark is and what he's done. Yeah, he's been with Blizzard for 14 years. I have been working with him since 2012. He is one of the most talented visionary humans that I have ever spoken with. He is the most hands-on human. I have worked
Overly
with
hands-on.
everyone. Yeah, no, to the point where we tease him about it on events, but like his attention to detail is like a passion and a talent that is just it's hard to find. There's a lot of really great people working within StarCraft esports and the esports in general, but none like Mark. And there's little things that are not going to be filled in by whoever is going to take over his roles and stuff. Like, um, to put this, I can't put in perspective. I can't do it justice because you guys actually, for I've worked in this industry so long with so many companies and with Blizzard specifically for so long. This guy was the most hands-on in every aspect, including talking to talent and players. He knew every player with every player's story. He knew everything about every caster, like even down to the color schemes of everything, logo placement. Every single year, every time that Mark would be coming to Korea, Nick and I would hear about it and be like, yes, Mark's coming to Korea. He's going to fix all this shit that's wrong. And he would. He would fix everything and he would work hard on everything. And like the guy doesn't even sleep. He just lives and breathes StarCraft. You know, like the first big event where I think you started to see his influence would be that 2012 European Championship. And he is a big part of why StarCraft is growing right now. Like, and I know the whole team over there is doing a great job and they're all a part of it. I don't want to take anything away, and the other people that were let go, I don't want to take anything away from them. But this one really strikes home for me because I realize how integral this guy is, how like he has the big picture in his head for what's going on, and he has it like this guy is an actual artist. Like I'm not you. This guy's actually a DJ that sold like 1 million records. I'm not even joking. Like this, he's had a very interesting life. He understands what it is to put on a good show and care about the production. You know, I end up doing all the events that are like a little bit weird, like you know, Heroes of the Dorm and the AlphaGo thing and you know, stuff like that, the Pyeongchang, you know, these things that kind of go to a different audience. And especially for things like that, Mark is the first person I message and talk to him about, what do you think that we should do with this show? What do you know, what are your thoughts about what is this target audience? How are we trying to do this, right? Like in every creative aspect, like this guy has been a mentor to me in a lot of ways, a friend to me in a lot of ways. Like his importance within StarCraft esports cannot be overstated. And the fact that he was let go, I would have bet everything in the world the day before, everything I owned, that they wouldn't let him go. Now, the fact that they let him go shows how out of touch that they are with what's going on.
Well, that's the scary thing, is maybe they're not out of touch.
Whoever okayed Mark Albarts being let go from Blizzard literally just doesn't know what's going on.
Yeah.
Which means the people making the choices don't know what's going on. Like, he's involved in everything. He was at every tournament for the last several years. Like every single one, behind the scenes, making sure everything was going well.
He hired all the talent. He handled negotiations.
Yeah, he hires all the talent. He sets up casting orders. He does like the amount that he does is, I actually can't even tell you guys. Like there's no way for me to do justice to what Mark has done for StarCraft.
Yeah.
And how much he loves it. I have been standing next to Mark at moments where big things happen for players and just seen him start to cry because he's so happy for the person, right? And it's his artistic vision and his leadership skills are, I mean, there's no one that I've worked with like him. And now that he's gone, I don't know what to say. I'm fucking depressed about it. It's terrible.
Yeah. Jeez. I don't think I could add much to what you just said about Mark, but you know, You're making me all emotional. The other part of this too, though, is what's amazing about Mark is he's not just those shows. He's actually watched like every episode of the Pylon Show, and he's one of the first people that messaged me after each one to be like, "Here's what you got right. Here's what you got wrong. Here's what I appreciate. You're spot on about this." And that's the part of Blizzard that I'm really worried about is the soul of it. It's not just Mark; it's a lot of these guys. StarCraft wasn't just a job that they like went in and clocked in on, or even let's go beyond StarCraft. It's their games, right? It was a passion, and I believed that, and I did, and I still do to a certain extent for years. When Dan talks about Mark like putting on a show and being overly hands-on, it's not because he was like looking for a raise or whatever. Blizzard actually underpays most of their people, if anything, and it takes years to get promotions. It's very hard to move up in that company. But he just wanted perfection, and all these people did. So we have to reiterate this over and over again. There's a lot of fantastic people behind this. Adrian today messaged a lot of the talent and said, like, look, I'm assuming a lot of in charge now. Talk to me about it. So it's not like there's nobody in these roles.
And these other people are great too.
They're wonderful.
There's like, thank God that Adrian is still there. Imagine if both he and Mark were gone. Oh my! Yeah. I can't even. But yeah, not to take anything away from these people. But
yeah,
please.
But and this is not cool. But we felt it pretty important to make sure that this is communicated very clearly to everyone. This is like the first rider of the apocalypse. That sounds overly dramatic because I just like big words, I guess. But it's pretty true at the same time. Like nobody's hired for these WCS events coming up, by the way. So whoever's going to hire us is going to be somebody different. It's going to be a different process, which is fine. I think once they announce these events and they've scheduled it with that's a big contract. Those contracts are signed as far as I know. But the point is, that's how integral Mark was. Like Mark actually was the guy that handled all of us and like Dan said, was the visionary and designer of these shows. With him gone, we don't know who steps in and does all that. But for me personally, and I'm just sharing my thoughts, I don't know this, but if you get rid of people like that and you get rid of talent managers like Stu, who I can talk about in a second, I'm telling you, 2020 looks very different to me. It looks very different. And that's just me. Dan just talked about right there, but I hope the gravity settles in with you guys. Like his entire livelihood is casting StarCraft. So this is scary times. And that's why in part I want to pivot a little bit, because every time we talk about this, there's a whole bunch of people that are like, this is normal. That's what companies do. This is like that's just the way this works. I get that, but what Dan said, and I want to reinforce this, there's nobody that doesn't know that. Nobody is sitting here saying this is the first time this has ever happened, and that means it's okay. These are our friends, but right alongside that, these are people that we've worked with for like 10 years and have done all these shows with us and traveled us around the world, and they're really important to us. So every time I'm like, shit, Stu, I'm going to miss you, and someone's like, they're focusing on the mobile game, this is normal, and they start to like explain things to me, I want to reach through the internet and I want to rip their dick off. I just want to rip it off and be like, stop. Because it's so tiresome how often I have to explain to people that StarCraft is more to us than just a fucking job or something like that. It's so much more.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry, I gotta say
just go ahead
on Mark here, because I'm fucking torn up about it. Like, for instance, did you guys like Signature Series? That's his baby, right? Like, he realized he's basically always been ahead of the curve on everything. StarCraft is really looked up to as an esport for the way that we do our broadcasts and the kind of, some of this cutting edge stuff. And I mean, I know that Signature Series we're not the first ones to do something like that. I think Dota actually did it first, but this was a big thing that he was such a big part of as well. He was always trying to improve talent, and the vision thing is actually really important. I know a lot of people don't realize this, but most events that I do, I get hired and I show up, and if you try to get any sort of vision for where they want the show to go, a lot of times they don't have much, and it kind of just falls on the casters to do their thing. And a lot of shows can feel repetitive because of that or something, but with Mark, it was very different. Like, I mean, I'm looking through, like, he would make notes and like we talk about different story points and all these, you know, it's just I can't even speak because the J. Allen Brack, like the new CEO or whatever, he said in the message about this. Here's a quote: "Esports and the Overwatch League are also important priorities, and we will continue to produce great competitive content." If they're priorities, why are they getting rid of Mark Albarts? Like this,
Mm-hmm.
I feel dizzy talking about it.
Yeah.
Because it is whoever made the choice, like, can't really understand what he's doing, right? Like they're I can't be this far off as a talent. I know I don't work in the Blizzard office. I don't get to see everything that occurs, but I know that I've worked with everyone for a long time, and I know that Mark's important. So,
yep. Well, you can see the pain on
if
Artosis.
if Blizzard doesn't know how important Mark is for what we've been doing and the direction that StarCraft's been going in, I can't trust that they know that I'm important. You know what I mean?
Dan, I mean, the honest flip side of that coin that's even scarier for me is that they do. Right? You're assuming they don't know. I would tell you that this is a sign that they do know and that they're refocusing and shifting away from it.
Yeah, either way is
yeah, it's
scary.
bad. Yeah, it's really bad. So this is a downer topic, and it's really sad. And like I said, I had to fight back tears. And Dan, I know, is close to that as well. Like Mark's really close to us, but on the Pylon Show, one of the immediate things that we want to do is be as honest and brutally fair as possible. So we're not going to break NDAs, obviously, or I will break half my NDAs, but talk about not breaking them. But we're going to share it when this shit happens. And we're going to talk about it, and we're going to be honest about what it means for us. So I fully anticipate that WCS 2019 still goes off. There's some people speculating about that or worried about that. I don't think that's the case.
Oh no, yeah.
Too many contracts signed, too many things are in motion. That's going to happen. If someone put a gun to my head and said, make a guess about 2020, I'd tell you that 2020 has a professional scene as well. I would say maybe it's instead of one WCS winter like that, maybe it's two. Maybe it's still exactly the one because that's been a big success and it's 3 stops. I don't know. That's all speculation. They haven't told us anything about that. But what I think is really important is that if you are living in some kind of imaginary world where you don't think these things don't indicate something, you need to start kind of waking up to it. We're not, I used to believe that we'd have StarCraft 2 professional scene as we know it forever because it's the last RTS. It's the last professional RTS. So I was hoping that Blizzard, and the numbers are growing and like they're doing well and people love this game with all their heart. The war chest sells out every time. I'm not making that up, guys. It actually caps out. Like, you guys fucking crush it. It's amazing. So everything in that realm tells me this is amazing. This is great. But then these stuff comes out and they let go of support people and devs and people that are integral to the show of these things. And there's budget cuts across the board. More things are being allocated to Overwatch League to try and shore up their losses there. And I got to tell you, fuck me, dude. I don't think Overwatch League's about to have a better year. I don't think it's going to be a better year for them. And I think that's going to make things even worse and harder. And it's harder to imagine that another year of bad Overwatch compared to these other games that are crushing it is going to equal a 2020 with a more robust StarCraft 2 professional scene supported by Blizzard. So I hope I'm wrong. I hope you guys clip this and you go, Jeff, look how stupid and wrong you were. And I will strip myself naked and walk down the streets. And you guys can ring bells and say shame. And probably also, that's impressive, is what you guys would say. It'd be shame, but also you're impressive. That's supposed to be a joke. We'll laugh later about it.
I get it.
Thank you. Jesus. But I'm telling you that it's looking like that won't be the, it's rough times ahead of us. So I'll say this now because I got the momentum going there, but I do want to mention a couple other people that I know that left and what we can do to help them, by the way. And there is stuff we can do. This year is sacred and really important. So we're going to talk about a couple other topics. Livy B had one in the like group discussion thing that's kind of important to this. But this is where some of this stuff's actually kind of really important. And there's going to be a lot of people that are like, that doesn't matter. It actually fucking matters. Like, this year could be one of our last big StarCraft 2 years. If you're spending it making character names in the chat to make people feel bad, if you're a toxic piece of shit on the ladder, or if you are like a person that just consumes content but never does anything to try and help that content, like retweeting it, sharing it, telling people about it, or if you have money, subscribing to it, that kind of stuff, whatever. Just, there's so many different ways to help. If you're not doing those things, please hear me now. You're a part, like you're gonna miss out, and it's gonna suck. We need people to support the content that's coming up. You need to watch the next WCS. You need to share it. You need to talk about it. You need to make it exciting. If you have negativity, try and fight against it. Okay, just try to spread positivity and try to be a nicer person about this stuff. Dan and I and some others have been and like, you know, we've been playing StarCraft since we were 12 years old or 11. And it's not going to ever go away. So I don't want to try and like, I'm not trying to sell you on that, but I've lived in the world where StarCraft didn't have a professional scene except for like the unobtainable Korean scene that I just had to watch. And I think we're heading in that direction where there will be a collapse. There will be a shrinking of the scene. And we'll look back on this and I'll tell you what, if you spent that time being a piece of shit, it's too bad. It's an opportunity lost. But if you spent that time doing everything you could to enjoy it and making it awesome and sharing it with other people, then you did everything you could. And that's awesome. So please help. I think that's really important. You guys got anything else to add before?
Yeah, sorry, I talked too much.
No, Dan, don't apologize. It was good. Nothing wordy. That's good.
No, I mean, how am I meant to follow up that? You guys at all?
Yeah. So I want to end this topic, and like I said, it's a tough one. This is we've talked some tough subjects on the show, and I like that we don't shy away from that. It does make things awkward, and then I make a joke about being naked in the street, nobody laughs, and of course I end up being the victim. There's a couple others. We mentioned Stu. This guy was like one of the most dedicated player managers, and I don't know. I don't think any of you know him because how would you? But my God, if you worked at WCS, you worked alongside Stu, and Great. He was amazing. He was just such a good guy. He did everything he could to help, and was just great. So I don't know if Stu watches the show or whatever, but I hope he lands on his feet. Cobra's sharing these tweets, and a lot of these people have also said, I mean, actually, ironically, in this case, Mark and Stu have not said anything like, hey, I'm looking for a job or whatever. But if you see that on Twitter or anywhere, share it, retweet it. Like that actually has helped. I've already seen a bunch of Blizzard people say, hey, I'm looking for a job, please help. And then they got retweeted 700 times or 1,000, and they found a job like the next day. These are talented, awesome people. So that's one of the ways we can help. But Stu, thank you so much. And then Kibbles has always been, he's just always been around the scene. Like he moved on to Heroes of the Dorm for a while. He did some other things, but he's just been a Blizzard person. And he's great. Go ahead. Oh, I thought you were trying to say something, Livy.
Oh, no, I just agreed.
Yeah, he's good. And there's others too. And the nature of this is so weird. I mean, it's not weird, actually. It's how they do things in the tech industry, I guess. But there's more people fired that haven't said who they are yet. So it's like this weird, horrific, like they're dealing with it and then they're going to process it and they're going to communicate it. Mark, for instance, announced, I think it was today, right? It was earlier this morning.
Yeah.
So he knew yesterday, but needed some time and then said it today. It's just it's just bad. It's sad. So be positive, do what you can, celebrate this year. You've got some big events coming up, and I want you guys to enjoy it. I don't want you to look back on it and think, I spent that whole time pretending to be a racist, and I just made people feel bad. And it's like, well, that seems like a shitty way to spend your year, especially since we're in StarCraft and we all love this. Like, that's the other funny thing, too, right? Like, the people that are being toxic, they still fucking love StarCraft, right? They love it a lot. So it's not like I'm talking about this thing where they're like, no, Jeff, I hate it. I'm going to make people feel bad. No, you love StarCraft. So do what you can to help others love StarCraft in some of its final years at this stage.
Yeah, we all love StarCraft. And I feel like if we all just put in a little bit more effort to be more positive and more welcoming, especially to new players, then people will feel more welcomed. They'll feel like they want to learn more about the game and play it more often, or be part of the community, to spectate it at least. But I feel like when I go into streams of other streamers, especially in StarCraft, people always kind of like berate the person that doesn't know anything or that asks the silly questions, and it's just a huge turnoff. I guess just be a little bit more welcoming.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys. A lot of us wear our hearts on our sleeves. It's kind of an interesting